MyDigiDoc's official YouTube channel where we bring in pre-med and med students to talk about their journey, advice, and so much more. My name is Just Kaur, founder and executive director of MyDigiDoc, and before we get started, make sure you click that subscribe button and like this video for more content just like this. For today's first video, my colleague Adi and I will be talking to the wonderful ladies over at Bound by Science, Isabela and Carmen. Before we get started, I'll have Adi go ahead and introduce himself.
My name is Adi, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for MyDigiDoc, and I'm really excited to interview our guests today.
Thank you so much, Adi. Let's go ahead and get started.
So can you guys give like a little bit an introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so we are both students from Northeastern University. My name is Isabela Iglesias, and I am a behavioral neuroscience major and a pre-med track. I am also doing a minor in nutrition, and yeah, I'm super curious about how the brain works, how we can implement that side of science into like helping patients directly as well. And yeah, that's what I like.
Cool.
And hi, I'm Grace Delcarmen, and I'm also a behavioral neuroscience major on pre-med track, but my minor is in international affairs. So I'm also super interested in the brain, and I like how to study the genetic diseases and how they can impact through generations, and I plan on doing research in that in the future.
That's super cool. I'm actually really into neuroscience myself, so that's kind of exciting. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. So what got you into medicine?
Well, for me, I was raised in Dominican Republic. I'm currently in the Dominican Republic, and seeing the lack of the lack of attention they give patients and the lack of resources we have here in Dominican Republic made me open my eyes and say like, wow, there's so much more like we could be doing. And that's exactly why like it caught my attention and why I decided to go to the States and get like a better preparation to maybe like implement it in the Dominican Republic like in the future. Yeah.
That's really cool, yeah. Grace?
And for me, I was always interested in the sciences, and I grew up surrounded by a lot of doctors in my family. So I'm from Nicaragua also, so I'm also from a Latin American country where it's medicine works in a different process, and it's different all the ways they implement everything. And I had the opportunity to come abroad during the summers and take courses in different fields, and I was able to finally take a course in public health and medicine, and I really liked the way it was the structure in the United States. And I had always admired doctors since I was very young. I remember like my parents would always call my uncles or like anyone in the family for random questions, and they would always have the answers, and I really admired their devotion towards helping others. So that was one of the things that mainly made me come to the United States for medicine.
Yeah, that's super cool. Also same, like I always see my parents calling like my cousins, like because they're much older than me and they're all doctors too, so they're always like doing that.
They always say that doctors have the answer, like for everything.
I swear, yes, exactly. Yeah. So you guys are both going into your third year, or you're currently third years, or?
We're going into our third year.
Okay. So what are you expecting medical school to be like? Like any assumptions or stuff like that?
So right now, well, for me personally, I think Grace is going to say that she's doing a +1. So she's actually doing a major before going to medical school. But for me, I'm planning to either go straight into med school or maybe take a gap year and work in between. But the cycle goes like this. For example, if you want to apply for the cycle 2022 and like not take a gap year, go straight in, you basically have to start applying by May your third year. Like your application has to be done, and you have to have your MCAT scores and your rec letters and just like be finalized with that. So right now we are basically just in the process of like still getting some experience done and like building our resumes and our like personal like getting more experience, either volunteering or research or yeah. So that's basically where we're at right now.
Yeah, we're currently planning on starting in this upcoming January 2021, the process for studying for the MCAT, because it usually they recommend for about 4 to 6 months. And because of Northeastern, we have co-op cycle, and when we are currently on the co-op, we don't take classes, we work full time, and that gives us more of a flexibility to study because we don't have the pressure of having exams, having to study for classes. We just work during the day, and we have the late afternoon and the night off. And so that's our current plan right now.
Cool, cool.
Right, yeah, that sounds like a really intricate system. So backtracking a little bit before medical school, how did you choose your major?
Well, we both discuss it like every day. Like for me, and I guess it's for Grace too. When I started asking questions and I was like, what's the best major? And it's like the best major that leads you into medical school. Like the best one that is similar in some ways because of its difficulty levels and like its workload. So for us, I think I speak for both of us, we were really intrigued by the brain, but it also covers a lot of the requisites like for the pre-med track. So basically you don't have to add a lot of classes in. For example, if I were to take maybe, if you want to go to medical school, you can even like major in political science and then get the prereqs for medical school. But behavioral neuroscience is one of the fuller majors that like gives you all the classes you need to get into medical school.
Yeah, and also I feel like for both of us, we loved biology, but we didn't want to do like a biology major itself. For instance, for me, I had taken before in high school, I had taken psychology classes, and I loved psychology, and I was planning on majoring for psychology. But then looking at this, like at the courses for that major, I felt I didn't have as much as biology classes as I needed, and I found that neuroscience is the best combination for psychology and biology, and the rigor for the major, it's like really, really like complete for everything. You just have different areas, and it allows you to have like other minors and connect it with a lot of things. So it was perfect for me and for Isabela as a pre-med.
That's super cool. I've actually been like looking at majors as a high school student because I have to apply next year to colleges. So I've been like on the edge of like neuroscience, public health type stuff. So neuroscience is really catching my eye right now. So yeah. So leading into like extracurriculars, I guess. So can you tell me about like one of your favorite maybe like extracurriculars like research or anything like that?
Yeah, for us, just by being a Northeastern student, you have the opportunity of doing co-ops, and I think that's the main thing, the main extracurricular we have, because it's basically work like you can do either 1, 2, or 3 co-ops during your time in college, and each of them it's about 6 months. So you work full time, 40 hours a week, and you can choose. If you're interested in going to medicine, you have the opportunity of working in a clinical research environment and gaining full experience, and that gives you, I think, enough experience in a way for you to know where, like, to shape your path even more. And for me, that has been one of the main experiences with clinical research. And I have also participated in extracurriculars such as like American Red Cross. And I'm actually the vice president of the chapter at Northeastern. And that gives me an opportunity to like be more engaged in the medical field, but also like in the part of extracurriculars. Isabela is also a member there. And we do different types of community service. And also there's another club that I'm really like a big part of it, and it's related with international students. It's like an international community that we create to engage students that come abroad to study in the United States, and we just create a sense of community so we can get to work together for our new community, which is Boston.
Yeah, and so as Grace was saying, there's a lot of different things you can do as a college student, either all the way from volunteering to like, I don't know, there's a lot of clubs too. We actually go to a club called the Neurons Club, like just, it's not like a volunteering center, but just to share your interests, and like different doctors go there and they talk about their research or they talk about different books. And like Grace was saying, she's the vice president for American Red Cross, but there I actually focused a little bit more on research. So I found this neuroimaging center at Northeastern University where I worked at, I started at the beginning of my sophomore year. And so they conducted research of how CBD affected the brain, because we don't know what it does. Like nowadays, there's still a lot we don't know. So that research focused on that, but that's the good thing about college. You can either like go towards research or volunteering or different clubs, and there's actually two like intramurals for soccer, or like if you're interested in any sports, there's a huge variety of different things you can do.
Super cool. So like kind of what I'm getting is that like I'm guessing like college is way more open than high school, like in restrictions wise, I'm guessing. Like there's like a lot of things to join and stuff. What's like the most thing, like the thing that has surprised you the most throughout your entire medical journey?
Well, for me was the workload. Like the workload for me moving from high school to college was a lot to take in. And for me, it was like, oh my God, like I was used to relying a little bit more on my teachers and professors when I was in high school. Like if you ever had a question, like it was like, okay, professor, this and that, like please help me out. But in college, it's like you have to go after the professor. Like if you have any questions, you have to go to their office hours, you have to ask them. Like it's up to you to study. They won't give you like, let's say, I don't know, like in high school it was used to like, okay, study this study guide and you'll see similar questions on the test or whatever. In high school it's like, okay, here's the book, here's the lecture, like, and the exam's next week. Like for me, that was like the major shock as a pre-med and BNS major.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, also the workload, but more importantly for me was like I was used to being in so many extracurriculars. Like back home in high school, I would be in the soccer team. I was a captain of the soccer team, and then I was also like in dance classes, and I was also in taekwondo classes. I had French classes. There were so many things. I had like extracurriculars, community service, and I still had time to like study for my classes and do well. But here, I feel like there's so many options, but you just have to choose what matters the most for you. Because for me, I'm e-board of two clubs at Northeastern, and I feel like that's enough for me to feel like so much pressure plus my workload. And there were so many things at the beginning of freshman year that I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I want to join this dance club. I want to join this eating out club. That there's so many things you don't even imagine. And then once like classes start, you realize that you barely have time like to breathe. Like sometimes it would be Isabela and I, it would be like 3 a.m. in the morning, and would still be at the library just like, okay, we got this. We still have one more chapter to go, but we got this. And it's like you just have to learn to balance your time even more than even if I thought I was able to balance it in high school. In college, you just really have to focus on your priorities.
I think it's harder to balance, but it's possible. Like it's harder to prioritize. It's harder to put things into like priority levels, but it's totally like doable. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think what we can get from that is like, even though college gives you like a lot of independence, you also have less time, so it's kind of hard to find a schedule that works for you. So you kind of mentioned, both of you kind of talked about this when you talked about why you selected your major, but what are some classes that you've taken so far that are related to medicine that you think that are helping you the most? And you can talk about any prereq courses or any of your elective courses or anything you've taken so far.
So I would say that the one that for me, it's 2 classes. They were actually pretty difficult classes, as Grace can probably tell you guys. So we took biological psychology, which is basically the biology behind the psychology, but it showed you like, I don't know, like some of the anatomical parts of the brain, but it also showed you like how our behavior is backed up by the biology. And so that was super interesting for me to learn and for me as a pre-med, because that's basically what like we want to know, like we want to learn. We want to learn how our behavior, like how that is seen like in a biological level or like a cellular level, or how maybe, I don't know, some drugs affect your brain, or you know, like alcohol, how that affects the neurons, the different cells. And for me, that was like one of the courses that really backed up the pre-med view. And so yeah, I really fell in love with that class.
Yeah, so that class was really interesting. We're actually going to take psychopharmacology this semester, which is more in depth with the drugs and their behavior and influence in the body. So that's going to be pretty cool. And I think for me, I didn't realize it at first when I took the class, Statistics for Psychological Research. I really liked the class. We honestly did pretty well, and it was really engaging, and the professor was amazing. But I didn't really understand how that was going to work, like influence my career in the science or research. I really didn't understand it until I did my co-op at a clinical research lab this past spring. And doing the research and during the presentations with the data plots and all the data gathering and processing they were doing, I realized it had to do so much with statistics. And there were a couple of things that I remember from class. And when I was talking with my coworkers, they would explain to me how statistics was behind of all the research you're doing. And it really impressed me how like I used it so much during my co-op to understand like what the data means, like what was the plots and how like the impact, you know, like I didn't really thought about it until I was at the research environment.
Yeah. So like what I'm getting is that you really love like the co-ops. Like they seem super insightful and like involved, and like you can really get interactive with them. So yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Both of the classes you guys just mentioned sounded very confusing. But what is something that not a lot of people know about the pre-med path, or what are some common misconceptions that they may have?
Or like anything that you guys had maybe.
Well, I think for me, one of the common misconceptions was that I thought some people like told me pre-med was a major. Like some people think pre-med is a major or you're like a minor, but it's not like if you're gonna have a diploma that's your pre-med. It's like people need to, like some people are a little bit confused that pre-med is a track, and you just have to take the classes on your own, add them because you need them, not because you're gonna get like a diploma, I don't know, something out of it. It's not like a minor or anything like that. That was something at the beginning I thought, like I was a little bit confused back home.
Yeah, me too, actually. Like it's different if you are like an international student and you're going to study pre-med or medical school in the United States, because in the Dominican Republic and in Nicaragua and in other like international places, medical school is like you enter college and you're studying medicine, you know, there's no pre-med and you have to like apply for medical school, or you have to take the requisites to enter medical school. Like that's not a thing. And so for us, it was like when I like my first year, I was like, okay, Grace told me like we have to go to our advisors. And I was like, why? Like I already have the classes I'm gonna take. But she was like, yeah, we have to enter, like we have to know what prerequisites we have to take. We have to take these prerequisites to take the MCAT our junior year. Like that's all, like everything I did not know we had to do all that before like senior year of pre-med. So
yeah, just have pre-med, you just have to organize your schedule, because for instance, regular BNS majors that we have friends that they're not on pre-med track, they can take biochemistry and physics too, as split it up in their 2 semesters of senior year, and that's fine, so they don't have so much workload. But for us, we can't do that because we have to make sure we have taken biochem and physics too, which are pre-med requirements before we take our MCAT. So if we're planning on taking our MCAT in junior year, we have to have them all before that. So that is just a sense of organization that if you are not aware of how pre-med works, you're gonna be a little bit confused because your advisor won't give you that schedule. You have to ask for it and tell them that you're planning on taking the MCAT at this time of the year.
Yeah. I actually like the same like misconception that pre-med is a major. Like I literally just found that out like a year ago or something, that it actually wasn't a major, and I was like, wait, this like changes everything. Like super weird kind of.
Yeah, and I think it actually gives you a lot of flexibility because I know a lot of people who actually take classes with us that are majoring in like political science, and you just in your schedule you add the classes for medical school, or you can literally, I don't know, major in literature, and like if you want to like put the classes in for medical school, then you're like you can do that, and I like that they give you that option too.
Yeah, it's like a lot of like flexibility for trying to explore your interests, I'm guessing. So yeah. So going back to like high school a little, for like the students out there. So is there any advice you have for high school students or even like other people on the pre-med track? Do you have any advice for them, like based on your experiences?
Yes, I think my advice would be take as much AP courses as you can, because for me, I remember that a junior year when I was with my college advisor, and I found out that for medicine, like for pre-med, you can't request AP credit for science courses because they require you to take it in a college level, like to make sure that you're actually going to get 100% out of it. And I was like so disappointed because I was taking AP Bio, AP Physics, AP Calculus, AP Stats, all of these like courses that were pre-med requirements, and I planned on getting like credit out of it. But then I still decided to take them, and I realized that even if I couldn't get any credit out of those, like the entering college with that knowledge and that rigor like from high school, it really helped me. At least for me, it's not the same, of course, but you just enter with a stronger base than you would if you just take regular like biology or regular calculus in high school.
I would say that an advice I would give some high school students wanting to enter like the science related field is like try to get some experience other than like academics. Try to get some experience either, I don't know, volunteering, helping people out, going to a hospice, or you know, putting yourself out there in that community to see if you really do like that environment, because like the academics is not everything. Like once you get into college, you're gonna see like do I like, you're gonna ask yourself, do I really like what I'm studying, or like do I see myself in something else? And they always tell us, for example, we being pre-med, like pre-med, not so much pre-med, but medical school is a devotion. Like you really have to like it. And so that's why I'm telling high school students, as well as they tell us, like try to put yourself in those shoes and to see if you actually see yourself in that environment. Because if you don't, then the science related field, pre-med or medical school, is not the thing for you.
Yeah, I think it's a very long career, and you just have to know that and just make sure you really like it and it's something you're gonna enjoy doing. And something that I also helped me out, and here in the United States, back in my country, we don't have this, but there are a lot of pre-college summer programs at universities that are about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on the program. And most of them give you like an introduction of a college major. I went to 3 of them throughout my years, and I took classes in everything. I took classes in psychology, I took classes in business, took classes in engineering, just for me to get a sense of everything so I could really be sure that what I liked was medicine, what I liked was biology. And I mean, for high school students that are in the United States, it's probably they have the opportunity to do it sometime before graduating, or at least to get like a sense of like an introduction of the major they're interested in before actually entering college would be like a really good thing. Even though that you can always change and switch majors in college, it's always better. I mean, for me personally, just to know and just stay with it so you don't get behind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, sciences and like specifically med also probably takes a lot of commitment. Like that's what I'm getting to. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think all of the things you guys said are really good pieces of advice for students. And you guys talked about earlier how both of you were up at 3 a.m. in the library studying. Do you have any study tips for high schoolers or other pre-med students, or methods that you use that you think are effective?
I think the best method is to have a study partner, because trust me, you're gonna want to give up by midnight. And I feel like having someone there to like just motivate each other. And of course, each person has a different like way of studying. For me personally, I really enjoy like me individually reading it before and trying to do it on my own. But afterwards, it's really helpful for me to talk about it with someone else. Like Isabela loves making flashcards, so she would always make huge flashcards, and we would ask each other flashcards with that. Or I would love the whiteboards, and I would just be writing in the whiteboards. Everything Isabela was saying, I would just write it down. So we at the end we would have a big whiteboard with a lot of information, and we would be able to visualize it. So I feel like the best advice is just trying out different methods of studying and see which one works better for you, and then just stick with it. And if you have the opportunity of having someone with in your major to study with, I mean, that's gonna help you out a lot.
And for me, one of the biggest things, and it's actually proven, like, don't try to cram everything like the night or two before the exam. Like, literally, after a class, if you have time, like, after a class, review your notes before going to sleep, and like review your notes and then study a little bit more, or like redraw whatever you're learning, and just like do this constantly before the exam, and I promise you, like, it will stick. Like, don't try to cram everything like before the night of the exam, because the reality is you don't only have one class, right? You have 4 classes, 2 labs, and on top of that you have like other activities in the university. So my biggest advice would be, like, try to review everything as you go. Don't let it sit there and then open your book the night before the exam and try to cram it all up, because it will not stick. Like, it will not.
And also, in college, it's not about memorizing things. Like in high school, I remember like if I didn't have time to study, I would just study during break and try to just memorize everything up, and I would probably do average on the exam. But here, it's about understanding. They're not gonna ask you what 2 + 2 is, or they're going to ask you like a question that was gonna make you think and analyze like the concept together. So even if you memorized what a term is, it's not gonna help you, because you're not gonna know why this happened. Like, like you don't memorize it just and think that's gonna be enough. You have to actually understand why the process happened or why this thing happened.
Yeah, I thought that's super helpful for me personally. I kind of struggle sometimes, like with time management, so I'll keep that in mind, basically. So in conclusion, with like everything, so if there was like basically what I've like learned from like your entire journey, it's super cool. Like I'm really into neuroscience, so like the major like really attractive for me. But if there was anything that you could redo up to this point, like what would it be for you? Or if there is anything.
Okay, for me, I actually was pushed a little by Grace to like go to my advisor, set things up, and like start on that journey. And actually, like, having Grace as a partner actually did help me, like, go to my advisor, like create a plan, to like know, okay, this sophomore spring I will do a co-op. This summer I'll do an internship either in the DR or in the United States. This spring I want to start volunteering in this place. Either, like, it's okay if it's still like something you like, it's tentative, but at least you have something to where to guide you. Like, for example, like, to create a plan, what you want to like achieve. So that's like the biggest thing I would start doing as soon as I like got into college. And another thing is, for pre-med students out there, like, don't think it's like, okay, I have 4 years. Like I have time to do volunteering. I have time to do research. Like try to do that as soon as you put yourself in a pre-med track. Like time flies, and for us, Grace and I, for example, COVID has set some things back for us. And if we maybe started, and for me specifically, if I had started, I don't know, volunteering for like my freshman year, maybe I wouldn't like be a little backed up now, you know? So yeah, that's my biggest like
Yeah.
thing.
And yeah, I totally agree. Like time, like don't take it for granted, because I certainly did. I mean, obviously it's like less like importance level, I guess, for me since I'm only in high school, but still organization and like planning out like definitely was really good.
Mhm.
So those are all the questions. It's super fun talking to you guys. Like I really loved it. Super fun. Thank you guys so much for coming on here too.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Do you have anything to add, or is that all?
No, I mean, I guess thank you for coming, of course, and good luck with the remainder of your medical journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with both of you with college applications.
Thank
And
you.
let us know too if you end up majoring for neuroscience.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
I will. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.